everyone, it's me, Ella, and welcome back to Surprise London Trip. I appreciate that it's been a while since I've done an episode for the series. I have been on so many different theatre trips recently and have had quite a lot of content to catch up on, but we are back now with episode 3. As you can tell from this gorgeous t-shirt that I am wearing, episode 3 is Mean Girls. I have been absolutely desperate to get to this video. I am so excited to do this one, and I thought it would be rather appropriate to do the video this week, as sadly Mean Girls is closing on Sunday with its final West End performance. So let's not wait any longer and jump into it. On the previous episode, which was Hamilton, you will have seen me talking about moving to another hotel. That other hotel was in fact the Savoy, which is very, very close to my heart because ever since Pretty Woman was in there, it's honestly felt like my literal home. It was a dream come true to stay at the Savoy, and that is all I'm going to say, otherwise I'm going to end up crying. For a bit of background knowledge then, I had been desperate to see Mean Girls ever since it got announced to come to the West End. I had been after tickets since day one and basically would not shut up about it. It took a year and a half to get there and certainly a lot of patience, but that show was 100% worth the very, very long wait indeed. So how exactly was the show I'd been waiting a year and a half for broken to me? Well, we had finished with Hamilton rather late as we'd been doing stage door, and by the end of it we found ourselves across the road from the Apollo Victoria where Wicked is, waiting for a taxi. We got back to the Savoy at gone stupid o'clock, and when we got into the room, all we did was fill out the room service breakfast thing for the morning, put it on the door and go straight to bed. That was pretty much the end of day 2. And then, the next morning, our room service breakfast turns up, and it is over breakfast when I am told that I am finally, after a year and a half wait, going to see Mean Girls. And the moment I found out we were going, I immediately burst into tears of happiness. I was like, oh my god, I didn't think we'd actually get to it before it closed. And I was a very happy but tearful mess indeed. We were going to a Sunday matinee, so didn't have much time, and headed straight over to the theatre next door, ready for the performance. Over the course of having to endure the extremely long wait, I was able to catch Georgina Castle performing World Burn on National Lottery's Big Night of Musicals. As soon as she'd finished her performance on the telly, I became obsessed with the song World Burn there and then, and was left in the hope of seeing Georgina Castle as Regina George one day. However, at this performance, the role of Regina George was played by Cleona Flynn, who is the understudy, and as it turns out, Cleona wasn't the only cover at this performance, as she was joined on stage by Fergie Fraser, covering in the roles of Regina's mum, Katie's mum and Mrs Norbury, and also Freddie Clements covering in the role of Damien. Sadly, I did not see Georgina Castle as Regina George in Mean Girls. Once Mean Girls closes on Sunday, however, she will be appearing in 51st Dates at the Other Palace in September, which hopefully, fingers crossed, I will get to see her in, because I would absolutely love to see her perform at some point. It's really difficult for me to pick out some highlights from this wonderful show because I was in awe the entire way through and could not take my eyes off that stage, but I am going to try and summarise as best I can. First off, Cleona Flynn as Regina George. Wow, she gave a phenomenal all-round performance, and her rendition of World Burn honestly left me absolutely speechless. Also, there is one particular moment in the show that gave me a very clever idea potentially for a costume for MusicalCon this year. I have quite a few options to decide amongst, however, this is a costume idea that I am particularly keen to do. So we shall see what happens and I shall let you know if I decide to go through with it. But Cleona Flynn, all round phenomenal performance. Also, I would like to add that even though Georgina Castle wasn't in on the day that I went, Cleona certainly did not disappoint. She gave an amazing performance. Grace Mowatt as Karen Smith, oh my goodness me, she was absolutely hilarious the whole way through. And in her song Sexy at the very beginning, I was in for the shock of my life. Because when she says, oh, let me start over, she walks off. I am not joking. She literally walks off and then comes back on again to restart the number, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Sexy is yet another song in the Mean Girls soundtrack that I have become absolutely obsessed with, along with World Burn, Apex Predator and Revenge Party. And given the amount of times I have listened to the original Broadway version of Sexy, I was not expecting that walk-off to happen at all. Grace gave a stunning performance. She really brought Karen to life in her own unique way, and above all, it was a pleasure to see Grace in Mean Girls. I absolutely loved her performance. And finally, Elena Gayesi as Gretchen Wieners. I saw Elena as Catherine Parr on the Six UK tour quite a while ago, and this is definitely a character contrast compared to Catherine Parr. Elena brought out the sweet and sensitive side of Gretchen, which was lovely to see, and she delivered Gretchen's qualities really, really well. Another beautiful performance. Also, yes, I did see the original film for Mean Girls before going to see the show. I ended up watching it during the extremely long wait that I had to put up with, and there were points while watching the film where I was sat there thinking, oh, if we were watching the show we'd be at this song now, because by this point I had already been listening to the original Broadway soundtrack extensively, and even though I absolutely adore the original film to pieces, I still have not watched the new remake version, but I intend to watch it very, very soon. I don't have much more to say on the show other than the whole cast were truly phenomenal. I absolutely adored finally getting to see Mean Girls. Yes, it was an extensive wait. Yes, it was a challenging wait, but it was entirely worth it 100%. It is a shame Mean Girls is closing on Sunday. Fingers crossed it comes back. I am obsessed. It is one of my favourites, and I, for one, am certainly not ready by any means to say goodbye to the plastics just yet. We have now made it to the end of the episode, which means it is time for the Mean Girls merch haul. Firstly, can we please take a moment to appreciate this stunning Burn Book Loungefly? I ordered it from Amazon not long after finding out that Mean Girls would be closing, and I am in love with this bag. I actually took this with me to see the show, and I can tell you now it will certainly be getting plenty of wear. I showed you my On Wednesdays We Wear Pink t-shirt at the beginning of the video. I actually bought this at the show while I was there. I'd been looking at the different t-shirts before going, and this is the one that caught my eye. I am so happy to have this. Mean Girls is another show that does both a programme and a brochure. This is the programme, and this is the brochure. Also, can we just appreciate how the front of the brochure is the cover of the Burn Book? I am absolutely obsessed with this, and the production pictures inside are absolutely stunning. I am over the moon with this purchase. And the last thing I have to show you is this pink tote bag. Now, I actually had to order this after my surprise trip, as unfortunately, when I went to see the show, the Savoy were out of stock of this pink bag. However, I am so happy to have it now. Also, absolutely loving the quote from Worldburn at the top, which is "I'm a massive deal," which Regina George says. I am absolutely in love with this bag. And alongside all of that, I also bought the Mean Girls poster and the Glencoco Christmas ball, which I'm actually not going to show you, as they are both in the Burn book bag, and I certainly do not want to break the ball. Anyway, that brings Surprise London Trip episode 3 to a close. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I can't believe there's only one more episode left of this series. I have really enjoyed making this series so far and cannot wait to film the last episode. And on that note, I shall see you very soon.